This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite teams' out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple: products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
Welcome back to Keeping Current with Kansas City. Daniel Sperry, Kansas City Star, Thad Bell. That is me, not Daniel Sperry. Daniel Sperry is the other guy. We have good things to talk about. We have some bad things to talk about. And we have some good things to talk about. So, last game, Kansas City versus OL Reign. What was it? 3 minutes in, 4 minutes in, and they're up 1-0.
Yeah.
A little bit of a shocker, keeping up the current trend of scoring early.
I don't know about shocker. I mean, you're the one who said I think they're going to come out. Who was it who said they think they're going to come out in our last podcast? I can't remember. Somebody, one of us did. But they've done this a couple of times, plenty of times throughout the year, actually, where they come out and punch a team in the mouth pretty early on. And I think in a playoffs like that, I mean, to concede so early, there's still so much game left, and it offers teams avenues back in. The impressive thing was the fact that they got to halftime 1-0, and they forced OL Reign to think about it a little bit more.
You're right that it gives teams a lot of time to get back in, but it also puts a pressure on them starting really early. I mean, if it's 20 minutes in, you're like, okay, we've had a little time to play. But when it's you're still just even getting it, there's players who haven't even touched the ball yet at 3 minutes into the game. So
correct.
Including their keeper. No, I'm kidding.
She did touch the ball.
Yeah, I know. It was a bad joke, but
it's okay. Yeah, I thought, I mean, that's who they've been. They've scored inside the first 5 minutes plenty of times this year.
Yeah.
What was it? They scored a goal. I'm pretty sure they scored a goal. It's like the fastest goal in NWSL in Challenge Cup history. I think like 90 seconds in against Houston. They've scored. They score early plenty of times, and they've scored late plenty of times as well. But for some reason, they've done it even off the other side of halftime too, where they score right away. They're just a team that, I don't know if they've got some routines that they put in there within those first 5 minutes, but when they come out and they're locked in like that from the beginning, I don't know that they've dropped a result where they scored that early in a game. So it's a team that gets out early, jumps on other teams, and puts a lot of pressure on them from the get-go. And if you had a bye week like OL Reign, maybe it takes a little while to do that. I think we saw both teams in the semifinals go down early at home. The Portland Thorns were able to keep San Diego off the board, which is why they're in the final, and got 2 goals, especially an absolute bang. Well, both goals were bangers for Rocky Rodriguez and Crystal Dunn. But the they took them until the 93rd minute to get that second goal. Reign never recovered. So I don't know. This is kind of who they are under Potter. Is he gets them ready to go, and they are raring it from the moment that they step on the field.
Oh, they absolutely are. And then they followed up with a later goal from Kristen Hamilton. Um, just at the edge of the box, goes ahead and takes the shot that she may not have normally taken, but she mentioned that Lynn had suggested that she do shoot a little farther out when possible. And just for anybody who hasn't heard about this, Lynn Williams is practicing lately. Not that she's going to be available for the championship game, of course, but she is at least back to the point where she is practicing with the team, and honestly, looks like she could be ready to play. But you don't risk those things. So,
Right.
just want to drop that little bit of news in there.
Yeah. I would just say one thing on the goal from Hamilton that I noticed, how much gravity that Elise Bennett demanded up top, which it was incredible. I mean, she had 2 people marking her on the long ball into the top where she heads it down and it gets in and runs into Hamilton's path, and Hamilton starts running. Then 3 more defenders took her run where she took 3 defenders out of the play, took left back, but took a defensive midfielder and a center back out of the play, which allowed the shooting lane for Hamilton to cut back inside and rip it low. I mean, just an incredible amount of respect that I think her physicality and speed demands when she's on the field. And it was really interesting to see how that opened up things for Hamilton underneath, because this is one of Kristen Hamilton's best games she's played in a really long time. I thought her hold up play was excellent. She was able to bring in other people in the first half and get those late runs into the box. We're getting shots like Loera did a couple of times. Kaiser got in on a couple, even Labonta tried to in the first half. But in the second half, she switched up her game a little bit, and she was back to running off the back shoulders and stuff like that, because Elise Bennett was the one who had all the attention drawn to her. And she capitalized on a game where the OL Reign didn't really think to deal with Hammy too much. And so the goal was well taken for her. I know she's missed a few sitters this season, but that was a really well taken goal from her to get it past Tulis Joyce there. And just Hamilton understands off-ball movement, and I think she did a really good job of recognizing the way Elise Bennett's run dragged defenders out of the way there for her to get her shooting lane, especially with Tulis Joyce a little bit in no man's land based on the angles that Hamilton was kind of coming in towards goal there.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good observation. Anybody who plays against Elise Bennett will need to deal with her physical strength and speed. I mean, she's got some skill, especially, running at. She may not be as high quality finisher as some players may be, but when it comes to just her skill at running and then holding up the ball and that strength, she's going to be hard to contend with for anybody, and that draws attention. But it may have been a lack of preparation on the team, not having from the Reigns part for not being ready to deal with that, her coming in earlier than what they probably expected. Could be a coaching thing. Yeah, I'll go there later. All right, so we've like made it sound like the Current dominated the game. They very clearly did not dominate the game. The Reign were probably the better team as most of the game. They've had better possession, ton more shots. Expected goals was, I don't know, probably, I think it was like 1.7 or 1.8, something like that.
Yeah, it was close. It was, if not, I think it was a little over double what the Current had.
Right. But yet the score was 2-0 the other way. They just could not break down Kansas City. When Kansas City got behind the ball, they were just very difficult to break down, which is what they are all the time. But also, quite a few shots did get through, and AD Franch had to make a few saves. What should be a Rookie of the Year candidate, Alex Loera, I think, cleared one off the line. Yeah. But now I mentioned that Loera, we both speculated she would be farther up the field this last week, and that's exactly what she was. How do you think she did?
Well, I wrote an article about it for the Star on Monday, Monday into Tuesday. Fuzzy days for me because as listeners from the last pod will know, I was in LA. I was flying after the game was over. I was doing listening to the post-game press conference sent to me from Thad and the current communications to try and download on my flight back from Los Angeles because the way my timing for my flight worked out, kind of weird, crazy trip, but so we ended up pulling out a second piece later on Monday that was about Loera's and Potter's decision. And I think it was funny. I don't know what Potter kind of gave you guys earlier in the week, or in pre-match stuff. But when I had talked to him on Wednesday for a little bit of a sit down, he threw out three names as Logarzo, Bennett, and McCain as potential options to replace Lavogez. There were two options that he didn't mention, which was dropping CZ Kaiser deeper and playing Haley Mace up top, or keeping Alex Loera in the midfield, Addison Merrick on the back line, and just plugging Desi Scott back in the midfield and playing Loera as another midfield, a more defensive-minded midfield in there. And that's what he optioned to do. The average positioning from, I believe, forget what stats perform has Loera has it kind of operating as the same midfield triangle that Sporting KC utilized, which is kind of similar to what the Current have utilized all year, which is a single pivot and Desi Scott underneath two box-to-box mids or two eights of Lola Bonta and then Alex Loera this time. I think at times in the second half it functioned as a double pivot. There was one time where Loera and Scott were together as a two in there, so the average positioning may not fully work out the way we thought, the way it looks, but there are definitely times where that switched to a double pivot to kind of clog different spaces up that the Reign were trying to attack and utilize. And for the most part, I would say in a way they kind of suffocated the Reign, because I think most of the Reign's chances came from outside of the box. There were two golden chances that came from inside the box. One is the header that goes down onto the line, I believe, or off the line. Loera had the clearance, the ball off the lines, whatever chance that came was a high expected goal chance. And then there was a header in the first half that AD made an insane reflexive save, the ball just kind of off to her right. Those were the two biggest chances for them. They had some that hit the bar. Jess Fishlock came close, but a lot of those were long range efforts, stuff that the Current were getting bodies to in front of them. For the most part, that was the chances that the Reign were getting. They didn't get a ton of touches on the ball inside the Current's 18, and I thought that was a really good job of the Current to keep them out of their penalty area, and a lot of that has to do with how the midfield was deployed. Loera and Labonta were out roaming around, snuffing out fires, closing down gaps and spaces in a very heavy fashion, in a way that you don't get maybe with Lavogez, or even when CC Kaiser plays down deeper in the midfield, because of their attacking prowess. They will say they're not really defenders. They will get back and attempt to defend, and they will work hard in defense, but that is not their skill set. Loera has been a defender by trade for so long. She has the defensive mindset. She can defend 1v1. She can defend space in front of her and to her peripherals. She's used to that. So I'm impressed with how she was deployed in that midfield. Again, in a very different role, but it was successful. And she picked her spots to get forward. She clearly has a pretty decent shot, given the goal that she scored earlier in the year, given her services, that she's normally the corner taker and stuff like that. So, she has that type of service in her. Someone big like that, you'd expect to kind of be going up for headers, but she's out there doing the service. So I think it fit well in the midfield for her, and she did a really good job of just getting the ball and moving it where it needs to in the attack. It was a pretty complete performance from her. What did you think?
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, I've talked up Alex pretty much all year. I watched her in college last year because, you know, there wasn't much to watch. And it was, she was, I've been impressed with her play the whole time. And continuing off of what I think you've said is that she's got that defensive capability. She's got that offensive capability. She may not be the best at either one of those, but she's got a really high quality on each end of that. Remembering back to last game, she had two assists, or should have been 2 assists for the last week, and then this goal, and then, you know, she's willing to go forward, getting the attack. She does the dirty work coming back. I think probably, you know, there's been people who have talked her up for maybe getting national team looks. I've never quite been that far. I think she needed to grow some, if, you know, to be even in that conversation. But I think that she may have just made a statement in this last 2 games that she needs to be in that conversation, at least for Vlaco to take a look at her. I'm not saying it's an absolute or guarantee, or, you know, there's not players out there that are potentially better than her right now, but she at least needs to be in that conversation, and maybe a depth piece going forward. Any other conversation on this last game other than, you know, it was a good team win. It was not a star, it was not a player, it was, you know, everybody in there contributed.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The two things that stood out, I think, one, AD, just incredible saves all along, as she has all year long. We'll get more to AD a little bit later here on the show, but I definitely think she deserves her due credit for that game, because that's a big deficit of the expected goals against versus goals conceded.
Yep.
That's a complete wash there. And so she did a killer job in that, saved some massive chances, had a couple of insane reflexive saves. There's one where I don't think she saw the ball on the Jess Fishlock had volleyed through like a crowd of people until the last second, and reacted in time to get her body in front of it. They're just all year long, it's kind of been a goalkeeping clinic from her in shot stopping, and it continues through the postseason. There's a reason why she broke the records that she did. Was that all-time leader in postseason saves, and tied now for most postseason shutouts with Nicole Barnhart. But France deserves some credit. And she pointed out something in the post game was the team had 39 clearances as a team. They just, every single ball that the Reign lumped into the box or whatever, launched it out. And I'll give you this. The Reign scored 1 goal against Kansas City all year long, and they're 1-0 defeat. And it was on cross 37 out of 38 in a game. I know the Reign are good. I know they ended up at the top of the table, but this was not necessarily, you know, this is what we talked about last week, was the difference in the table, you know, from 1 to 5 really isn't that big of a difference.
4 points, I think.
4 points total. And, you know, the quality, people say, oh, it's the Reign. You know, the Current very clearly belonged in these moments. And I have
Very
shown,
much so.
I think that they have shown that they were a better team than the Reign. Were able to defend the Reign very well. So in general, like you said, great team performance, but AD definitely deserves her own round of plaudits too.
And again, very much a team performance, because if you look at the Reign player by player, at position by position, you have to give every position, almost every position, you know, the in the Reign's favor. You know, you have Rapinos and Fishlocks and just, you know, there's too many players to go down that list right now, but they would have the advantage in almost every position, but they lost. And that's, I don't know if that's just the team's better, the coaching's better, but I think this is a good time to just segue right now. We've talked about the semifinal game. Let's go to the thing that's probably got both of us a little irritated. Postseason awards, the best 11, the second 11, goalkeeper of the year and coach of the year are out at the time that we recorded this. I don't think I've missed any, right?
Nope.
Lola Bonta was in the best 11. Haley Mason, AD Franch was in the second 11 that came out on Wednesday, I think.
No, Tuesday. Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday. Yeah. And then the coach of the year and the goalkeeper of the year came out today. All right, let's just start with the first 11 and the second 11. Any major qualms with that? I mean,
no, I think it's fine. I think maybe you could like pick in. Honestly, what happens for me, and this is how I voted both for even MLS Best 11 and NWSL Best 11, was my goalkeeper of the year was the goalkeeper that I selected in the best 11. So when Kaylin Sheridan ended up as the goalkeeper and in the top team in team 1 of the best 11, I expected her to win goalkeeper of the year at that point. I figured that's how people would vote, and I think it's fine. Lowe definitely deserves to be in there. She's a great box-to-box midfielder. I know she even talked about it at the press conference or at our training session on Tuesday, was that what's the secret to your success this year? Penalties. I mean, she's literally her goal numbers have been pretty inflated by penalties, but it's also the assists. It's the box-to-box work rate. She leads the league in fouls drawn. She is a very tricky, crafty player when she gets on the ball. Sometimes I don't think they get her the ball enough in the system and in the buildup, but she deserves to be in that top group because she's had a heck of a year and has kind of become a bit of a culture leader too with the Selly squad and all that fun stuff.
No doubt. I think she's arguably in that first 11. She's arguably in the second 11. I mean, just depends on how you value certain traits. I mean, I've listened to other people discuss how they did it, and they're valid in their choices. So Lowe well deserved to be there. AD, I thought should have been in the first 11. But and again, it's you can tell when they come out in this order of the first 11 versus the second 11, the keeper that's in the first 11 is like 99.9% sure going to be the keeper of the year. It's just the way it works. And that's the way it turned out. She was Kaylin Sheridan, then AD Franch, and then Phallus Toulouse Joyce. And that was the order it was in. Again, it's respectable. I understand, but listening to some people talk about the keeper of the year and how Kaylin Sheridan faced so many more shots than anybody else, and I was like, I don't know that that's true. No, and I was looking it up, and of the candidates, and
correct.
But even AD Franch has like 14, 15 more saves than her, so I think she might have faced more shots total, but. She's on an expansion team.
Go ahead. Or were you asking for my input, or you're waiting for my input? Go for it. Keep rolling. Sorry.
I was just saying Sheridan's on an expansion team, so that probably garnered her a little more attention also. So go ahead.
No, I get it. I always wonder what would have happened if Casey had just hung on for that point and taken third. Would AD have been, do people look at the standings and say, well, this goalkeeper was higher up? And I think they do. And I think AD, the Current have conceded a decent amount of goals this year. Don't get me wrong. They conceded nearly 9 more than Rain did. They conceded a lot compared to some of the teams in the table around them, but AD Franch kept it from being really bad a couple of times, and honestly kept them in games where they probably shouldn't have been earlier on in the season when they were going through injuries and COVID and struggles and stuff like that. And in some of the biggest matches of the year, I think of that game in Portland, the game against Portland. Franch stood on her head that whole game, and it was a freak play that probably could have been a foul at the top of the box if called properly, like that ends up being the goal that they score. And it was a ricochet, I think a shot off the post, just a bunch of weird stuff that ended up being the goal for Portland in that game. They've had a couple of those where it's just a weird play that the ball falls to the right person at the back post and they smack it home into an empty net. Nothing much she could have done about it. She outperformed her expected goals against versus goals conceded, which was positive. There was only, I think, 5 goalkeepers who were above the 0, which is, if you're in the negatives, that means you were a good shot stopper.
Right.
The highest number on that was Katie Lund. She faced the most shots. She outperformed her expected goals against by 6 goals. Granted, they still conceded the most in the league because that was a terrible defensive team in Louisville. But next on that was Kaylin Sheridan did have a higher number than AD French. I think some of that probably has to go down with her penalty saves. That's a number that has always inflated Tim Milia stat in that area around KC. So I really do think when I understand the argument for Kaylin more over AD. Do I agree with it? No. Did I go with AD? I voted for AD, absolutely. But I think this one was a little bit more like, I can see why they ended up, folks ended up choosing her. I just don't necessarily agree with that one.
Yeah, we're in the same boat there. I voted AD, and actually my second was Fallon, and then my third was Kaylin. But that's based mostly upon how I saw them play. Like the games that I saw them play, it was not a stats thing. It was a what I saw them do in the games. All right, moving on. Here's the one that's probably going to really tick us off. Coach of the year was Casey Stoney. I always have to make sure I don't say that wrong. Stoney Casey. It just seems to always come out the wrong way. But Casey Stoney was first. Okay, again, expansion team. I get that. I don't agree, but third was Laura Harvey. I mean, second was Laura Harvey, and third was Matt Potter. Laura, again, was 1/3 time she's won the Shield and lost to a Kansas City team. Neener. And she's always had really talented teams that then don't do well in the postseason. So and when you talk about these awards are only for the regular season, that's kind of a shame because it's really should be what you do with that team. And Potter has this team going further than either of the other 2 candidates. I just don't. I mean, I can get the Casey Stoney being first. I just cannot get Potter being third.
I'm with you on that, and I don't get how it is. I don't know if maybe it's because people didn't want to watch Kansas City for a good portion of the season. I just don't think. I think it's really going to take until this weekend for people to get it through their heads that what Kansas City is doing is very special. It's not as flashy as San Diego. It's not as big name and flashy as San Diego or Angel City, but it's pretty darn good. And the folks that are investing money behind it are making the entire project good. And Potter has done an exceptional job of fighting through injury after injury to key player after key player. I think you and I both can sit here now as we look at this team. And I think what I saw from this team in the very first 45 minutes of the season, where everybody was mostly healthy, this team was Sam Mewis, Lynn Williams in it, and Claire Lavage in it, and Cece Kaiser in it, and along with the way this back line and these rookies have developed, this team probably would have won the Shield. They were just a team that it was marginally worse in a few games that they probably shouldn't have been, had a few draws that they probably shouldn't have. Otherwise, they were top of the table without any of those pieces.
Right.
And so I look at a team that a coach came in and took a team that was dead last, that had looked miserable at times last season. All of a sudden, it was firing on all cylinders, and had a 13-game unbeaten streak through the rest of through the middle part of the season, taking down everybody on the road and at home for a good stretch there. And I just am shocked that third is where he ended up. I can understand not winning. I can understand marginally not winning because Casey Stoney kind of has, you know, a little super power vibe to her, star power vibe to her is what I meant to say. And San Diego kind of has this aura about it with Alex Morgan, and they've got Naomi Gurma and Sheridan and Taylor Korniak and a few others that are, you know, draws. People pay attention and say, okay, that's a pretty decent team. But this Kansas City Current team was every bit as entertaining, every bit as talented, and every bit as impressive as that group was. And so I think that's where it's really frustrating to see the fact that not a ton was different about the roster from last year to this year. And they made that big of a leap, and that wasn't rewarded. And so I think that's where I'm a little sour there.
Yeah, and I will say actually most of the teams around them are more talented. You can say, like, you know, that it was as talented. Kansas City was as talented as those other teams. I'll disagree with you, just because of the level of national team players that are currently playing on those teams. I do think that what the future has for the Current might be a completely different situation. I'm going to probably put some words in your mouth, so you can yell at me if I do this incorrectly. But at the beginning of the year, I think neither one of us was really Potter fans. Just the way he always answered questions, and he was stubbornly would never give up anything, and we've been frustrated by that. But I think we'll both now say that he's the one that deserved to be the coach of the year. He's done a tremendous job. The team was not very good last year. It was a little better at the end of the year. It had a lot of the pieces that are now important, you know, AD Franch and Hamilton and Mace. You know, then the draft picks that came in. Really, not many signings came. You know, Lavager made a difference for a while. The trade for Kaiser and Merrick, but this team was getting better. I mean, Kaiser came into a team that was already in a winning streak. Yeah.
Mhm.
And, you know, there for a while, she was, you know, she had to be shocked when the team actually lost. Potter deserved it. I can see the case for Stoney, but Potter deserved it absolutely 100%. And I will eat crow and say, you know, I was wrong about whatever he was doing this year. Not even what he was wrong, but by being so frustrated with his continued absolute cliche platitude, 1% better every day comments. But it works. It's working.
Wow.
All right. We only got a few more minutes before we get shut down by the powers of Zoom. Championship game. You're going. I cannot find it in my budget to go, especially since every day I wait to make the decision. Tickets go up $100.
More expensive. Yes.
So yeah. So I will be holding down Kansas City. You can send me any audio you get. Thank you very much. Playing Portland in DC. Neutral site game. That sucks. I hate neutral site games, but might help Kansas City, might hurt Kansas City. I think they've actually benefited a little bit just being on the road and with huge environments. It helps motivate them. It helps them be dug in more, you know, harder and stuff like that. What do you expect from this game?
Man, I expect more of what we've seen, of what we saw against the Reign. I think, CC should be available, right? We both kind of put that out there. I'd be shocked if she isn't available for the game.
But it's still very much an unknown. That could be also a little bit of a smokescreen because she could be unavailable. And as we know, Matt doesn't make any of those decisions, and the medical team will let him know who he can play.
Yes. But I just expect I expect more of the same that we saw from when they played Portland at home in that 1-1 draw from when they've played the Reign. They battled these teams very tightly. That 3-0 draw at the beginning of the year, or 3-0 loss at the beginning of the year in Portland. We both can say that's an entirely different team than it was then. And
came in the midst of the Challenge Cup run where they were not.
Both
Fresh.
times, I will say this: both times they have played Portland, they have had to play at the midweek on the road before coming, or they've done it in the stretch of like multiple games in a row, back to back, and all that fun stuff. I think this team, I expect it to be even. I don't think anyone blows anybody out. I'd be shocked if there's a 2-goal winner in this game. I expect it to be tight. It's going to be down to whether or not the Current finish the couple of chances that they create, and can they keep Portland's chances from being very clear-cut, dangerous chances. And I think they did a pretty good job on Sophia Smith in the first game that they played, or the game that they played back in September. So that was with Addison Merrick and no Elizabeth Ball on the back line, but it was Addison Merrick, Kristen Edmonds, and Alex Loera in that match. But I think it ended up, this one we'll see Ball back in there, another speedy defender who can cover space in behind her pretty well. I am, with her and Merrick and Edmonds, it's a pretty quick, agile back line to deal with the athletic power that the Portland has up front. So I don't know. I think it's going to be even. Like I said, I really just, it has to do with, can they limit Portland's clear-cut chances, the amount that they'll end up creating, and can they capitalize on the couple that they get?
Yeah, every game pretty much that Kansas City's done well in has been tight, close. I mean, they only won by 1 goal for most of the season. I think they've had 1 or 2 other ones now, but and then this last game, but it's pretty much everything that they've won has been tight. It's a couple times they've lost has been not so tight, but
Yeah,
that's the way this team plays. It's not always totally pretty. It's going to be sometimes a little gritty, sometimes a spectacular play here or there, tons of saves, tons of effort, and we expect no different. Sophia Smith is going to be probably the biggest challenge. I mean, I think she's the best forward in the league right now. She's got the speed, the strength, the skill. She's a total package.
Yeah, and there's a reason why she's an MVP candidate. So, you have to be mindful of that. And I think, we're also talking about Becky Sauerbrunn too, manning the back line. The captain of the U.S. Women's National Team is pretty one of the best defenders in the league as well. So, to me, I think you just look at that and you say, okay, this is going to be a tough battle, a tough test for them, but they've had a lot of those this season, and it's one of those points. I think Izzy Rodriguez put it best yesterday, where there's not a game that they've gone into where they don't believe that they can win. Whether or not they've been wrong is a different thing, but they always go into a game believing that they can win, and they don't know anything different. That's kind of at a point when you're in that blind trust that you believe you're going to win, and by putting in all your effort, that tends to produce the results that we've seen so far.
You think they have like a little believe sign over the locker room door as they walk out, like Matt Potter's the Ted Lasso, the English version of Ted Lasso?
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, Ted Lasso, I don't know if Potter's into it. We'll see. Maybe he is. So I don't know. I don't ask him his TV watching habits. I do know he watches Tottenham Hotspur, and when I was doing my interview with him last week, my Manchester United was beating his Tottenham Hotspur pretty soundly on his TV. And frustrated.
The last time we potted, you talked trash about a football game. I think you just need to just not leave. I know, right? Need to leave anything else out of this game pod except current talk.
Okay. So does that mean predictions now?
Yeah. You got 30 seconds.
Current win 2-1. I just have a hard time seeing them get this far and lose it.
I'll say goes to penalties just because I'm going to be wrong. So we both said, but honestly, predictions at this point are kind of pointless because we both said it's going to be tight. It's probably going to be a 1-goal win or a go to penalties kind of situation. I don't know how it could go so many different ways, but if the storylines, the storybook needs to be told, the Current wins this game. But I've also heard people say the exact opposite thing, that Portland needs to win this because of the trauma they went through with all the negative things that we have discussed before in other pods. So I can kind of understand both storylines there of why people would want it different ways. I'm from Kansas City, so I hope the Current win this one. Last word.
If you listeners, if you're going, please hit me up. I would love to say hello. Hope to see as many of you in DC as possible. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a really fun spectacle of a day, and going to get all the attention of Kansas City on the Kansas City Current this weekend.
All right, steal me a souvenir while you're there. And with that, we are out.